We must reinvigorate the health and imminence of the American family unit. Open borders and other policies that the left uses to destroy American families and supplant the eternal values and traditions that hold us together need to be opposed at all costs. The weaker that we allow our families to become, the weaker that we will be as a nation. In order to maintain strong families and a strong nation, we must protect the most innocent and most vulnerable among us, the unborn. And finally, address abortion for what it truly is, infanticide. Life begins at conception, period. And the science is on our side. The precious life of an unborn child should be legally protected with the federal abortion ban. And we can start by passing a federal heartbeat bill, just like the one Texas passed last year. The do what you want so long as it doesn't affect me conservatism of the past will no longer suffice. That attitude has been taken advantage of by the leftists who know that Marxist ideas, such as identity politics and collectivism, have consequences. Ideas have cultural effects, even if they do not have immediate physical effects. Ideas move nations towards destruction or towards prosperity. It's time to make our American ideas the standard again. The left's virtueless, destructive ideas cannot be allowed to make the standard anymore. Right and wrong exists, and it's time that we acknowledge that. If cities choose to defund law enforcement and refuse to protect American families, then those cities do not deserve to receive federal funding. American families and American prosperity must come first. Only after we've secured our traditions and our culture can we welcome immigrants from other countries to share in our traditions and prosper with us. The left's immigration policies will bankrupt this country, and it'll leave us with nothing for the future generations to inherit. We must not let this happen. I will not be complicit in the death of the West. I will fight for immigration policies that put Americans, our traditions, and our values first. We will work to repair our bridges and roads and create a speed limitless speedway that stretches from sea to shining sea. Improve our airports and deliver broadband access to every corner of America. In Genesis, we are called to be stewards of the earth. A free and energy-independent economy is a clean economy. The central planners behind the Green New Deal have more in common with communists than the patriots I know in real America. We should immediately withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. Instead, we are going to incorporate underutilized hydropower into our energy grid and incentivize the use of small, modular nuclear reactors, which will produce zero carbon emissions, break up monopolies, and unleash American energy dominance. We should immediately resume the Keystone Pipeline, because contrary to leftist mainstream propaganda, fracking has done more to reduce carbon emissions than any of their crazy climate alarmist policies. Instead of punishing America with the crippling restrictions of the Green New Deal, which will do nothing to reduce CO2 emissions, we will hold communist China accountable for being the biggest polluter in the world. And while we're at it, we will demand that they resolve their horrific human rights abuses before they ever are invited to sit at our table for diplomatic talks again. It is time to end the era of Biden's open borders and complete Trump's border wall for the security of our nation, because we love our fellow Americans and we deserve to be safe and protected. If Nancy Pelosi can have security around her house, Americans can have it too. Make no mistake, the border crisis is not just about American security. It also creates human suffering. When you have young girls being trafficked into sexual slavery and fentanyl decimating our communities, we must act. And yes, we will prohibit all federal funding of sanctuary cities. Big tech monopolies must be broken up, and Section 230 must be reformed before our future becomes 1984. Our voices are being silenced by corporations that have more control over the dissemination of information than the corporate media and elected officials combined. And we will pave an avenue into the future that unleashes the pure, unbridled potential of American innovation by deregulating cryptocurrency and incentivizing blockchain innovation. We must never forget that the Second Amendment was written to protect the First. The Second Amendment is not for hunting. It's for protecting yourself against government tyranny. It is your God-given, constitutionally protected right to defend your own life with confidence. The Second Amendment shall never be infringed. That's why we will repeal the National Firearms Act of 1934, because it's outdated, irrelevant, and more importantly, unconstitutional. We will enact a national constitutional carry to affirm the Second Amendment and stand up to blue states and blue cities that would infringe on the rights of the people to keep and bear arms. We will continue President Trump's work of rebuilding America's military and prepare it to confront 21st century threats to preserve our dominance in the land, air, and sea. We will also invest in offensive cyber capabilities, artificial intelligence, hypersonic weapons, and the Space Force to ensure our place as the dominant world power. We must also never forget that those who put their life on the line to defend us deserve the thanks of a grateful nation, which is why we must prioritize our veterans' needs. To do so, we must help them transition from military life to civilian life. You come first. America comes first. The new contract with America is an America First vision that takes the power away from government bureaucracy and puts it back into the hands of the people. It restores our liberties and builds a plan to preserve our freedoms for future generations. Let us remember what John Adams so thoughtfully stated: "You will never know how much it has cost my generation to preserve your freedom." I hope you will make good use of it. The American idea our ancestors fought for in 1776 is just as exciting and revolutionary today as it was almost 250 years ago. I refuse to surrender to the DC swamp and DC insiders. I refuse to buy into the failed ideology that more useless, corrupt government officials are the answer. I refuse to let the Green New Deal bankrupt our country. I refuse to cede our culture and our values to leftist wokeism. I recognize there is objective truth, and I demand the liberty to stand for it. I choose freedom. America chooses freedom.